Good morning, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Listen, I'm late today. I overslept. That never happens. But don't you worry about it. We need to talk about the mushroom murderer, Erin Patterson. Y'all, the jury has a verdict. Oh, we need to talk about it. But first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share out this madness that I call a YouTube channel. Y'all, we are going to get to 30,000 subscribers together. Okay, so look, let me tell you what happened. In case you don't know the backstory, don't you worry about it. I'm going to give you the quick and dirty. But also know, I have a full Erin Patterson playlist. I'm going to link it in the description box of this video. So picture it, like 2-3 years ago. Erin Patterson living down there in Australia, right? And she's a little bit of a sad sack. But okay, some people are sad sacks. And she was like, I have these 2 beautiful children. Everything is wonderful. Me and my husband been separated for like 10 years or something like that, a real long time. And she was just like, this life is good for the most part. Still also, I'm deep sad in my heart. I wonder how that could be fixed. And then she was minding her own business. And she was looking through some tax documents. Ma'am, that is not minding your own business. That's minding your ex-husband's business. But okay. She discovered on his tax documents that he had listed himself as separated. She was like, what? Just because we have been separated for like 10 years. How very dare you tell the government that we are no longer a couple? So her husband was like, hey girl, hey, listen, I just told my tax guy what the situation was. He knows that me and you have been filing as married. And she was like, I will not stand for it. If we are separated, I don't know why you had to tell the government. Ma'am, you're a skosh crazy, but okay. She's like, forget about it. We will be separated then. I want child support. And he was like, heifer what? And she was just like, yes, I want child support. I want you to pay for the school fees. And I have a more list of unreasonable demands that I will roll out to you later. And he was like, okay. He knew this lady was crazy when he married her, right? So he was just like, okay. This is Erining, because she a little ticklish of the brain. And so he was like, okay, I'm going to meet you halfway. I will help you with the child support, but I'm not going to do child support and school fees or something like that. They had a disagreement about finances. And she was just like, my parents are dead and they left me all this money. And yes, I built this gorgeous custom home, but my life is not filled up enough. And so I need your parents to love me too. And his parents was like, I mean, we doing the best we can, considering you got that real ticklish brain and stuff. And she tried to draw his parents into the dispute between her and her ex-husband, her separated husband. Technically, he was still her husband. So we just gonna call him the husband, even though they had been separated for a real long time. And so she was doing all these shenanigans. Y'all know how some babies' moms are. She was a wife, but she had baby mom behavior. You know what I'm saying? So she was acting crazy. And then at one point she was like, okay, Simon, husband of mine, why don't you come to my house and I'm going to make you a nice meal? And he was like, okay, that sounds good. And then he had a meal at her house and he was sick and in the hospital for 3 months. How you make a meal so bad that somebody is sick and in the hospital for 3 months? When he got out of intensive care, she was like, oh, I don't know what happened to you. That's terrible. Why don't you come to my house and I'll nurse you back to health? She's a sociopath. And so he came over, she nursed him back to health, and all the family flocked around. And she was like, oh, I really enjoyed this attention. Can you say Munchausen syndrome by proxy, even though they don't call it that no more? Anyway, so she was like, okay, cool. They continued to communicate. She continued to make semi-unreasonable demands. And he was like, okay. Finally, she was like, I have a health concern that I want to talk to you about. And he was like, heifer no. And she was like, no. I'm going to make a beautiful lunch and I want to have your parents over and your auntie and uncle. And why don't you come too? Initially, her husband, Simon, said he was going to come to this lunch. And then he was like, you know what? Last time I ate at her house, I was in intensive care for 3 months. So it's going to be a no for me, dog. And she was like, but I made beautiful beef Wellingtons. I spent a lot of your money. I spent a lot of money on this meal. Why don't you come and eat? And he was like, can you just text me whatever this is? And she was like, no, it's a health concern. I want to talk to you about it, how we should deal with this health concern as it relates to the children. And they were like, oh, this heifer. Now, according to Miss Erin, she had cancer. She wasn't sure what she had. She told one group of people she had ovarian cancer. She told somebody else that she had arm cancer. arm cancer. Is arm cancer even a thing? Anyway, she was like, it was a cyst on my arm and they had to biopsy it and they had to do other medical stuff. And so I want you to come to my house so I can talk to you about how to deal with the children as it relates to this. And her husband was like, this could be an email. This is a meeting. That could be an email. But look, the oldsters, the retirees, his parents, the auntie and uncle, they're like, well, we got nothing but free time and we do enjoy a free meal. So we're going to come on over to your house. So they come to the house. She shows them her, look, have you seen my beautiful new custom built home? Look at everything. They were like, oh, can we see the pantry? She's like, no, don't go in there. Y'all, that should have been the first clue something was wrong. Anyway. So she doesn't let anybody in the pantry. She serves everybody the meals. She talks to them. Oh, it was a lovely time. They had a fabulous beef Wellington. They were like, this is delicious. They was licking all their fingers. Thank goodness they didn't take home no leftovers. And then they had a nice cake to end it up. The kids were not home at the time of this lunch. And she was like, we gathered here today to tell you that I have cancer and I'm going to need your help and whatever. And the family was like, oh, that's so terrible. Okay, yeah, we'll help you. We're going to pray for you. We're going to do all the things. And then they go on their merry way. Now, according to Erin, after the lunch, she was just like, okay, they're gone. The original reason that she was having them over, according to her, please know, she a lying ass liar, and every time she opened her mouth, she telling lies. So who knows what the real reason was. The real reason in my mind was because she's gonna poison these people. But she said in court, the real reason she had them over was because she was going to have weight loss surgery. And she wanted to tell them, okay, I have an eating disorder. P.S. Weight loss surgery does not heal eating disorders. Those are two totally different things. Anyway, she was like, I have an eating disorder and I'm going to have weight loss surgery so I could get skinny. And I want you to take care of the kids. But she like, that don't sound bad enough. So she told them she had cancer. Ma'am, you're a horrible human being. Anyway, so the lunch goes on. The people eat the lunch. They leave. And then they go tell their friends and family, we had lunch at Erin's house and it was delicious. She is a fantastic cook. Okay, cool. And she had been on like all kinds of recipe websites. And she was just like, where can I get a good beef Wellington recipe? Who has the best mushrooms? Who has the best pastry? Who has the best beef? She wanted the best of everything. She was also on a website called iNaturalist. Now over there on iNaturalist, that's a website for people who like to forage mushrooms. As an unrelated aside, y'all just out here picking wild fungus and eating it. You go to the forest and pick fungus off the floor and eat it. Okay. Anyway, so she was like, where are all the best wild mushrooms? Because I'm making a nice Wellington, right? And so people are like, oh, go here, go there. But don't go to this one particular spot because they have death cap mushrooms. And death cap mushrooms, as you may have assumed from the name, will cause you to have a little bit of death. Just a little bit, side of death. Anyway, so she was just like, okay, death caps, you say. Let me go get some of them. By the by, I suspect that she put some death caps in her husband's meal, and that's why he was sick in the hospital for 3 months. Anyway, so she makes the beef Wellingtons, she gets the kids out of the house, she serves the lunch, everybody leaves. She served all her lunch guests on one particular size and color of plate. She had a totally different size and color of plate. Also, beef Wellington is notoriously difficult to make, and instead of making just like one big beef Wellington for everybody to share family style, she made little individual beef Wellingtons, which is way harder to make. Anyway, so they have the lunch, they go home. She has a separate beef Wellington, not suspicious at all. Meanwhile, all the relatives get sick. They're like, ooh, must have been something in the flaky pastry. She had beef Wellington, mashed potatoes, and gravy. In the initial reportings of this case, the gravy was not mentioned. And I was like, they should arrest her for serving potatoes with no gravy. But it turns out there was gravy on those potatoes. So mystery solved. Okay. So the lunch guests get sick, violently ill. They end up going to the hospital thinking they have food poisoning. Come to find out they need like liver transplants or kidney transplants. They need an organ transplant on the heel of this meal. That's how badly poisoned they were. Of the 4 house guests that came to her house, 3 of them passed away, slept the surly bonds of this earth. They off at the Inlet Heaven Buffet. Guarantee you, they are not at the beef Wellington portion of the Endless Heaven Buffet. Anyway, one lone lunch guest survives. He also happened to be a minister. Maybe he was extra super duper close to God or something. God is like, yeah, no, not right now for you. We gonna come back and get you later. But in the first round, honey, they took the her husband's parents and the auntie. Y'all, She an auntie killer? It's a special place in hell for auntie killers because everybody knows the aunties are sacred. Only the good ones, though. Anyway, so all these people are dead, and Erin was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it, it's terrible. She all up on the news. Ma'am, what you don't need to do is be on the news with your killing ways. Anyway, she's all on the news like, I can't believe this has happened. Let me just go over to my house. Please, did you get my gorgeous custom built home that I got off the money that I inherited when my parents passed away? Also, when they had the footage of her going to her house, did you see her front door? Honey, that front door has its own fan club. Gorgeous. Anyway, so she cries on the news. Ultimately, they arrest her. They like, hey girl, hey, all these people you done unfortunately unalive. And shouldn't you be sick too? Because if you ate this beef Wellington lunch too, you should be sick unto death. And she was like, I'm feeling fine. I mean, I was a little nauseous. I had a little, I had a little bit of a mud butt situation, but that cleared up and I'm okay. Her kids were like, mama seemed fine to us. So they said, Erin, girl, you got to come to the hospital and get yourself checked out. She gets herself checked out, but she's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I really, really do not enjoy medical stuff, so I'm gonna go. And they said, if your kids had any of this food, your kids also need to get checked out. She's like, I don't want to scare the kids, ma'am. And so the doctors was like, your kids could be scared or they could be alive. What would you prefer? And she's like, I'm just really uncomfortable with you checking out my children. Lady, your kids may have been okay, anyway. So all that cycles through. They finally figure out, oh, these people were poisoned with death cap mushrooms. Erin does what so many scumbags before her have done. She blames an all-purpose local minority. She was like, it was not me. I went to the Chinese grocer and that's where they had these mushrooms. Ma'am. The minority slander. I will not stand for it. Anyway, so they check all the Chinese grocers and they're like, she a lying ass liar. And so they're like, hey girl, hey, where'd you get these mushrooms from? And she's like, I don't know. So then they took her phone and they're like, oh, we see here on your phone that you have been looking at mushroom sites, and in the place where somebody said there's some death caps over there, don't go over there. That's exactly where you went to collect mushrooms. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent and all the other stuff. Now listen, what that caution is down in Australia, I have no idea, but they put her under arrest and whatever. She gets carted off to jail, right? She's like, I can't believe anybody would think this. And everybody in the neighborhood was like, that heifer out here killing people. Can you believe she out here killing people? She always was a little bit ticklish of the brain, but we didn't know she was killing people dangerous. We just thought she was like, regular weird. So Erin sits in jail for 2 years and then her trial comes up. Did she poison the relatives on purpose? Did she poison the relatives on accident? And then all the evidence starts to come out. Honey, the evidence in this trial was something else. See, she was just like, okay, it came out in trial. She had 4 cell phones. 4. How you need 4 cell phones? She had 1 main phone and then 3 secret squirrel phones. Oh, y'all know a secret squirrel phone. Them little burner phones. You could buy them down at the Walmart. I don't know if they have Walmart in Australia, but she bought herself some burner phones. And then she was over there at her house on her computer. Like, the police were like, girl, can we have your phone? This is before she was arrested. And she was like, here's my phone. And so she gave him a secret squirrel phone. And then she was like, I wonder if I can trick the police and erase my phone from a distance. And the police, y'all never heard of a Faraday bag, a Faraway bag? I'm not sure what it's called. We all learned it. Us true crime fans, we know about a Faraway bag. We know all about them. But she was like, they didn't put the phone in airplane mode. They didn't put it in a Faraday bag. So she used from her house, the phone is at the police station. She remotely wipes the phone. Then she reset her regular main phone 2 or 3 times. Some phones in this case have never been discovered. They know she had 4 because they can see like the digital footprints of them, but they don't know where those phones are. She kind of good at crime. Anyway, they were like, do you own a dehydrator? She's like, I don't have a dehydrator. I've never dehydrated a mushroom in my life. Then the people from the local garbage dump were like, hey, police, hey, we got a video of her disposing of a dehydrator down here. Would you like to come and pick up the dehydrator? Would you like to come and pick up this footage? And so Erin is like, oh, thank goodness my mom and daddy and them is dead and they left me all this money so I could hire a very good lawyer. Her lawyer was kind of hot. I was like, ooh, hey, barrister. Anyway, so she goes on trial. This trial lasts like 2 months, 9 weeks. A long time. Too long for a trial. Australia, y'all slow. It was a tedious trial for me. I didn't cover it breathlessly every single day like I normally would do because it was just taking too long and I got bored and it was other unfortunate unalivers out here that I needed to cover. And by cover, I mean gossip about here on my handy dandy YouTube channel. So anyway, Erin goes to trial, and it's witness after witness after witness. And then just yesterday, then the jury gets the verdict, the jury gets the trial so they can deliberate. And I was like, well, I done seen bits and pieces of the evidence. And you know how we do. I heard the opening statements and I made a snap decision from that. Also, I've been watching news coverage. What more could I possibly need? Evidence. Whatever. So I had decided she was guilty and I was like, oh, they probably can just convict her right there from the jury box. Just lean up. You think she did it? You think? Okay. Yeah, no, don't order us no kangaroo sandwiches or nothing. We gonna be good. We, the jury, find her guilty. That's how I thought it was gonna go. No, the jury was out for 6 days. 6 days. First of all, that's a lot of lunches. Turns out, they had to go through every little bit of evidence and they talked about it and they went back and forth the way I'm dying to hear from one of these jurors. Finally, late last night, in the middle of the night, U.S. time, which was like the middle of the afternoon down there in Australia, the jury came back and they were like, we, the people of wherever they live, you know, I don't know, find Erin guilty. And Erin was like, ah. So now that Erin has been found guilty of, first degree, second degree, I don't know. She was found guilty in the unfortunate unaliving of 3 of her relatives. The Crown prosecutor, that's like the state, had also threw in the attempted unaliving of her husband, but he didn't make the lunch. But they were like, no. We got enough goods to get her on these other 3 unfortunate unalivings. So we're going to drop the attempted unaliving of her husband. Child got convicted all across the board. You know, she was sad, fully in the ugly cry. Here's a thing that I did not know about the judicial system down there in Australia. So look, they can record certain footage, but they can't publish it. There's a whole bunch of things they can't say in public while Erin is still on trial. So now, honey, all the dirty business is coming out. The way I love people dirty business. Okay, so look, apparently Erin has been kept in the basement of the jail. Is it a dungeon? Do they chain her up at night? Or is it just like regular cells? I have so many questions. So they have like a selection of clothes for her or whatever. And every night she would just go to the basement of the jail during the weekdays, like Monday to Friday, she would stay in the basement. But on the weekends, they would take her back to prison. And so the news reporters was always trying to get pictures of her, like in her shackles, her hand, the belly chains, everything, doing the shackle shuffle, going over to the van to go to prison for the weekend. And the judge was like, don't show any pictures. Turns out, like the regular general public can't see those pictures either. So all the news media had the pictures. They couldn't post them until now. Also, the stories that have come out that can now be told now that Miss Erin has been convicted. This is my personal favorite story, although it's kind of bad. While she was in prison, while she was in jail for 2 years, waiting for this to come to trial, she made some friends down there in the jail. Okay, she seems like a nice enough lady. She down there making friends and stuff, eating her zuzus and wham-whams and cakes and pies and stuff. And she was like, hey girls, hey, let's have like a little potluck, a pitch-in. And she made food in her cell and the prisoners ate it. And after the prisoners ate it, they got sick. Prisoners! Y'all know she about to go on trial for trying to poison people with food. How do you eat the ramen noodle and bologna casserole? I assume that's what they serve in prison down in Australia. How do you eat the food of an accused poisoner? Y'all have bad judgment. Oh, right. You are also in the local jail, which also speaks to you potentially not having the best judgment. Miss Erin is alleged, probably won't be charged with it, alleged to have poisoned her prison colleagues, roommates, fellow people in the prison. And so once the people ate the food and got real sick, they started being like, oh, she did it. She totally did it. So they whisked her out of the cell and put her in solitary confinement where she had to sit there for 22 hours a day with no contact with the outside world and nobody else to poison. And they were like, we're going to conduct a complete investigation. So they did the complete investigation and they could not find anything. But all the prisoners are still like, she tried to poison her. She's evil. When she goes to the big girl prison, like her forever home, y'all, Prisoners in Australia, if you can see this, don't eat any food prepared by Erin. Don't let her near the kitchen. Don't take a spoon from her. You don't know. And I know these people were thinking, oh, well, she doesn't have access to mushrooms. You think she only poisons with mushrooms? She probably poisons with everything. Who knows? She's like, oh, I got this little bit of hairspray. Let me stir this in. Any kind of bodily fluid, anything terrible and disgusting. You know she was putting it in that food. She just poisoning people for sport at this point. And if you recall, one of her children said when she was in the hospital, now look, she was not in the hospital that long being evaluated, but she was having a good old time just kikiing it up with her kids in the hospital. And she's like, I've been poisoning y'all for months. You said you didn't like mushrooms. I was taking mushrooms, drying them out and grinding them up and putting them in all your food just to see if you would like it. Ma'am. So poisoning is her vocation, her advocation. Girl. So I suspect now that she's a convicted, unfortunate unaliver, and they said she could go to prison for life. Could? How you poison 3 people, take them completely off this mortal coil? The dude who lived had to get a liver, kidney, I don't know. He had to get some kind of transplant to be alive. And she's not going to prison forever, ever? That seems unfair to me. But for now, Miss Erin is going to prison, likely for a life sentence. I hope it's a life sentence. Do they have the unalive penalty down there? Do they just throw like dead kangaroos at you or something until you no longer own this mortal coil? I don't know how Australia works, but I promise you, the Aussies, they're going to weigh in. Oh yeah, they've been following this case and they will let us know. So g'day to y'all in Australia, but everybody rest assured, Erin, the mushroom murderer, has been convicted. More true crime tomorrow. Y'all stay safe out there, and I will see you next crime. Bye.